Hey, if you're an investor looking to fund your next fix and flip, this video is going to save you time, it's going to save you a little bit of stress, and possibly thousands of dollars in interest and fees. Now, most fix and flip loans don't fall apart because the deal is bad, while some do, but it's because the borrower wasn't prepared and isn't prepared. So today I'm going to walk through exactly what you're going to need as a fix and flip investor to deal with a lender like me to get all the way from the deal to close. So today I'm going to show you exactly what you need to prepare for when dealing with a lender like me as a fix and flip investor before you get funding, all the way from the very first conversation to the closing table. But first, I'm Jeremy. I'm a certified mortgage advisor based in Phoenix, Arizona. I help investors, empower realtors, and I consult with home buyers and homeowners on how best to use mortgages and leverage to create wealth long term. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the video. This video is going to be your roadmap for getting approved for financing on a fix and flip loan. This will be fast, it'll be clean with the least amount of friction possible. So by the end, my goal is that you'll have every piece of information you need, and you're going to know what documentation you need to bring to the lender to make sure that they can fund your loan. You're going to be the most prepared borrower on the planet, and I'm here for it. So first, let's talk about step one. Step one is presenting the deal scenario clearly. So before a lender can fund a deal, we need to start with the basics. So there's like what I would call a 6-point project snapshot that you're going to have in mind. Now, the 6 points are address. That's probably a big one. We need to know where it's located. This helps figure out, hey, is this a suburban deal, urban deal? Is this a rural deal? The type of property it is. Single family home. Is this a condo? Is this a manufactured home? Is this a helipad on a barn dominium in the middle of nowhere, Montana? We need to know all this stuff beforehand to know where we can set your scenario up for success and which lender to use. Number two is going to be purchase price. Got to know that number. And also I would say, let's say there's a wholesaler that's getting paid on the transaction to bring this deal to you. So if you bought a house for $200,000 and $20,000 of that goes to a wholesaler, well, yes, it's still a $200,000 purchase. We need to know that wholesaler is getting compensated at closing. Some lenders need to know that up front. Number three is the purchase date. That's a big one. When is your closing? Number four is a construction cost. Look, we want to know what the rehab budget looks like. If you have gone through the process of figuring out, hey, what do I need to do here for rehab, and list all these items out on a subcategory basis: flooring, paint, roof, HVAC, landscaping, all those kinds of things. Overall, we want to know the total cost to complete, and while that doesn't have to be a super dialed in number, we need to get an idea as to what the rehab's going to run up front. Number five is going to be after repair value. So we need to know what your estimation and your guess is as to what the after repair value is going to be based on the rehab and construction that you're going to do. Number six, the project time frame. How long is this project going to take you? And more importantly, how long is it going to take you to exit out of the property so that you're paying the lender back? So if this is going to take you, let's say, 2 months to do a fix and flip, you probably don't want to tell the lender it's going to take you 2 months to pay off the loan, because then you'll put it on market perhaps, or you'll refinance it perhaps to put a long-term tenant in there or something like that. So we just need to know what that timeline is so that we can most appropriately go after the right lenders that will set you up and give you better pricing, better rate, and better costs for the time frame you're seeking. Section number two, or step number two, I forget what I said the first time, so we're just going to roll with both. Section number two is agreeing on the loan terms, or not agreeing to the loan terms. Either way. So once the lender understands the project, you're going to discuss a few key deal points. And these are some of the criteria you're probably already looking for when you talk to lenders about funding your fix and flip. The loan amount and the LTV. So the LTV is your loan to value. So this is going to be based off of the after repair value in a lot of cases. So some lenders will say, hey, we will lend up to 75% of the after repair value LTV. We'll lend up to 75% LTV. Okay, so that's going to be a cap for some lenders. And then you'll have interest rate and points. So you obviously want to know how much you're going to be paying for that money monthly. Interest rate, points. This is the cost of the loan, what you're going to bring to the closing table in addition to your down payment. And that could be a few points: 2 points, 3 points, 5 points, 10 points. I've seen higher, believe it or not. So we need to know those things up front to make sure that not only can you qualify for it by having those funds on hand, but also, do you agree to those? Now, the term length, this is usually going to be a 6 to 12 month term, sometimes 18 months and longer if the project is a bit more complex. And then the draw schedule. You need to know how the draw is going to operate with that lender. If you submit all of your work that you're completing and you submit photos and you submit receipts, how long is it going to take for them to go through that information, make sure that you've actually done what you said you were going to do to issue the percentage of the draw funds that you're asking for. Some lenders will do this in a matter of 2 or 3 business days. Some of them take up to a week. So this is where we're going to lay that part out. And also the interest rate and points is going to be based upon a few things: the borrower profile, the risk of the deal, which they're going to help do the math with you and make sure it's not super risky, and credit. Lastly, credit score does matter for a lot of lenders. They want to see scores above 680, ideally above 720, but anywhere in the high 600s all the way up, you should have a product available to you. Doesn't matter which lender you go to. Keep in mind, sometimes the cheapest possible product may not be the best possible fit. So not only do you want to calculate what you're going to put down at closing in terms of cost for that loan, interest rate obviously, but also what it's going to look like when you exit that loan at the very end of the 6, 12, or 18 or 24 months or whatever. Look at the whole thing together in aggregate in terms of cost to determine which route's going to be the best. Step 3, or section 3, again, I forget. So this is the step where you gather the documentation that you're going to need to provide to the lender. Now we got to back up what we're saying. So once you agree to the terms, the real underwriting process actually starts. Now here's the checklist most lenders, including me, would need to see before things like ordering the appraisal and then ordering title work and insurance work. All right, we got 8 things here. Number 1, we need an experience summary or portfolio. We just want to know what you've done as an investor. If you're getting a fix and flip loan, it's wise to prepare that list with fix and flips that you've completed or exited. Things that you've completed and refinanced or completed and sold. That counts as experience generally. And they want to see experience in the last year, maybe up to 3 years. So we got to give them as many of these deals that you've actually worked on and closed as possible to help with experience. Things to include in that list, sort of, definitely the date you acquired it, date you sold it, or refinanced it, what it cost to buy, what the after repair value was, what it actually sold or refinanced for in terms of value for appraisal. So just give them a high level picture of what that project was. And if there's a Zillow link, that's helpful. If it's an address, that's definitely the best way. Just give us the address and those details. Even a 1-page summary of this goes a long way for a lot of lenders. So it's wise to prepare that if you can. So number 2, execute a purchase contract. Got to have that. And all accompanying addenda, your entity documents. This usually includes your articles of organization, your operating agreement, your EIN letter, and in many states, you'll need a certificate of good standing just to show that your LLC is actually active. Driver's license for all borrowers. That's a requirement. That's number 4. Number 5, give me the last month of your bank statement that you're using the funds from to put toward this closing on the fix and flip. So wherever your funding is coming from, we have to show that account. Retirement account works. We have checking accounts work, savings account works, money market accounts work. So any of those are fine. Number 6 is going to be a budget or scope of work. So this can come from you, and a lot of lenders could be okay with that. They need to see a lot of experience though in order for them to qualify you on that. If you don't have enough experience, or some lenders even do this with experience, they're probably going to want a contractor prepared budget and scope of work, right? So that helps to have that come from a contractor that has, their ROC number and their company name and the contact information, all that stuff, specific property address, and the list of all the line items that are going to need to be tackled on that fix and flip. That works great. The more information you have, the better about the scope of work. But over everything else, make sure that you line up and down on a sheet of paper what these categories are for the fix and flip you're doing. Don't just say $40,000. It's $40,000. Okay, great. What does that consist of? We're going to do some stuff. That's tough. Title company contact is number 7. So we have to know who to contact in order to order the title work. Send over information about the earnest money deposit. Some lenders want to see that was deposited by the buyer. Once all this stuff is done, they'll then actually be the ones that help close the deal for you. So it's another reason to know who they are. Number 8, insurance contact. We want to know who's going to be binding this policy to the financing need that the lender's issuing. The lender's often going to want to see that information on the insurance to say, oh, okay, we're listed here in case there's a loss, and it's got the right loan number or loan details and everything. So then they're going to check that off their list too. A lot of lenders will need that before getting to final approval. Now, bonus tip here, this is huge. The borrowers that I have that do this, they have the fastest loans, and there's no surprise why. If you have a Google Drive folder or Dropbox folder, some other secured sort of online cloud folder, dump all these items in there. Purchase contract, LLC documents, insurance contact, any information that you have about the scope of work, addenda, anything else that goes with this specific deal. CMA from your realtor would be really good. Even a 1-page summary of your bio. All these things are amazing. Dump them in there, forward that Drive folder over to me or whoever your lender is. That's going to make your process the simplest and easiest. and pain-free as possible is having all those details in mind. Now, step 4, or section 4, appraisal, title, and final approval. So after your docs are all submitted, the appraisal is ordered, that comes in. Sometimes this will be an in-person appraisal. Sometimes it'll be a desktop appraisal or some sort of broker price opinion that doesn't take as much time. Title ensures clear ownership, making sure there's no clouds or liens or any issues that need to be taken care of at closing in order to transfer title, and they also help close it. Once both those things are clear, the lender is going to issue a final term sheet and then closing disclosures or some version of a final settlement statement for everyone to review to make sure all the numbers are what everyone thinks they are. For most lenders, you can expect anywhere from a 7-day to a 14-day closing. Some of them will take up to 3 weeks. A lot of this depends on the appraisal. Some of them that do the in-person appraisal, that can take a week just in and of itself. Sometimes underwriting takes a handful of days, but the funding is within 48 hours. So knowing ahead of time what that looks like is key, not just to your process, but also for us. So if you bring us a contract where it's closing in 7 days, we're going to be in a much harder position because we're not going to have as many lenders to choose from to get that deal done. So communicating the close of escrow and making sure that's accurate, and also the chances that this could be extended if needed, that's good information to have for us. We can be very transparent with you on that process, because transparency and communication, it's a huge mover when there's delays. Section 5, step 5. These are the keys to a smooth close. This is the last step, but I wanted to give you some keys here. Be responsive. Delays cost deals. Keep solid communication open with your lender and with your contractor. Make sure they're all in flow at all times. Don't overcomplicate the funding process. If you stay transparent, your experience and that deal you're bringing to the table, it'll speak for itself. Maintain updated photos at least weekly, especially up front and on the back end. And definitely keep updating your budget. It's not realistic for a budget at the end of a project to be exactly what you had on day one. So the more transparent you are with that part, the more favorable the lender's going to look at you for future deals and offer more incentivized loan products the more you do deals with them. So overall, the best investors are the ones that make it too easy for lenders. They make it easy for lenders to say yes. Organization, clarity, and experience go a long way in fix and flip funding. So if you're preparing for a fix and flip loan, use this video as a checklist. A little prep goes a long way toward faster approvals, quicker timelines, stronger partnerships, and epic scaling. I have a very simple bulleted checklist with the main questions that I ask. Whenever anyone emails me, I email them back this template. Hey, just fill this part out. This will give me a really good idea on what we can do and how fast we can do it. If you comment term sheet checklist below in the comments, I will forward a copy to you at no cost. I want you to win. If you did get some value out of the video, please drop a like and comment below, and also subscribe. My goal is to continue to bring the best content that I can out weekly, talking about mortgages, wealth creation, and investments all together. I just want to continue bringing more information that you guys need in your investment journey. So again, thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.